Thank you for joining us on another episode of Beyond the Listing, where we discuss the business of real estate outside of the listing environment. I'm your host, Jeremy Madore, and today I have the pleasure of sitting with...
I'm Kristen Reyes, and this is my husband, Kendall Reyes. We are a real estate team in Southern New Hampshire and Northern Massachusetts, and we are with Real Broker.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for both of you coming into the studio. I know that it wasn't a short drive to get out here to Fitchburg, but I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
With us.
You have such a cool studio here. I love seeing it.
Thank you.
It's inspiring.
Yeah, she was telling me about it, so it was nice to.
Is this your first visit?
Yeah.
Yeah. You went to this one, or was there another studio?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
But no, she came back all like, it's so great, because we were like actually kind of looking for a space ourselves. So
yeah,
she drew a lot of inspiration from this one.
Yeah, we just don't have any cool mill buildings in our area. We have an office that we can use in Salem, which has been perfectly fine. It's just not ours.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that. There's a certain pride of ownership to it, isn't it?
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Just like a home.
Yeah.
So it's renting versus buying a home. Right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So we fell in love with the space. So we've had it for a year and a half, almost 2 years. So it'll be 2 years in March. And we really fell in love with the space because of the tall ceilings, the mill building architecture, the waterfall outside. I don't know if you saw that on the way in.
I love it. It has a little cafe attached. You can eat out at the water. I came home, I'm like, where can we find a mill building that has a cafe and a waterfall?
We
Manchester.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's actually,
Yeah. Manchester, Lawrence, Methuen, probably. But the truth of the matter is they're not common. Yeah. And then on top of that, getting a property that has a landlord that you're really able to align with is a whole other story, right? So the building owner actually works upstairs, and his pride and joy in the building it comes through everything that he does. And so if there's a problem, he squashes it just like that because he wants to protect the architecture, because he's truly invested. He's put a lot of money into this building to restore it and utilize it. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, so thank you for coming in. Enough of the studio. Tell me a little bit about your journey and what's gotten you to where you're at. I want to know a little bit about Real Broker. This is not. I've not worked with other realtors in the agency, so tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah. So we moved over to Real for a few different reasons. My biggest thing was my real estate heroes that I look up to so much around the country all were with Real, and I wanted closer proximity to them. So Shannon Gillette is my real estate hero. She's, I think, in Queen Creek, Arizona or something like that. And she runs this all-female team and just is an amazing leader and speaker. And so I contacted her and just said, how do I join? I want to be in your ecosystem. And so now we get to do monthly masterminds with her, which is just exactly what I wanted,
Fantastic.
And it's amazing getting to learn from people that are at our level or above all around the country that are really care about their clients and not so transactional. And so our meeting this week was all about what can we do to enhance our client experience, having events that benefit them, not us, doing things after closing that benefit them, not us.
Yeah.
And it's that's exactly how I want to think about the business, you know, or how we want to think about the business.
Client-centric values.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the other thing was we have been trying to grow a team. We got our first buyer's agent a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, and we just hired another one this past summer.
Good job.
And we had interviewed others, but it was very difficult to get people to kind of want to jump on board when we were at our previous brokerage because it was too expensive for them. They couldn't have really made money to be on our team and at that brokerage. And so now we're in a position where it's a much lower cap. Anyone who joins our team, it's $6,000 cap at Real. That's very low for the real estate industry, and it gives us more growth opportunity.
What kind of brokerage overhead and support, not overhead, oversight and support do they offer?
Yeah, so we still have a transaction coordinator that our team has that Amy. She's amazing. She's kind of like our mom on all the transactions. And then we also have broker support through the online portal. So anything that you have questions on, you put it in the comment section. Someone gets back to you that day with like, oh no, that check didn't upload properly, or no, you need to submit that to this place, just stuff like that. So as far as the support, it's been fine. We have a New Hampshire broker and a Massachusetts broker, both of which we have their phone numbers, and we can call them anytime that we have questions.
So they're very reachable.
Yeah.
Very good.
Exactly.
Very good. So you have a buyer's agent on your team.
Yeah. Two of them.
Two. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're a total of 4 of you guys all together. How has this year done for that? Like, I know that this year was a hard growth year for a lot of people, but you guys grew anyway. So that's fantastic. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
No, it's been, I feel like for us, it's just really being consistent.
Yep.
Being consistent with, we do a lot through social media.
Yes.
And that's something.
One of the reasons why you're here, by the way.
Yeah, perfect. We do a lot through social media, and I know a lot of times it's whatever method of lead generation you do, you just gotta be consistent. Like there's people that cold call, you cold call consistently, you're gonna do great. Sure. People that do social media, you do consistently, you can do great. Same thing with mailers. If you do it consistently, you're gonna do great. Right. And so with social media is one of the things that we've been able to do consistently, and have had some success with it.
Yep.
And one of the reasons why we wanted to be in Shannon Gillette's line, because she's unbelievable. Because it's like, all right, if this is what we do, we want to get better at it.
Right.
Like, how do we take what we do well and get better? So that kind of lined up for us in a couple different places. So it's allowed us to continue to grow and be in a position to where we got a lot going on. So it's like when you got a lot going on, it's like, okay, we could work every single day, every single night, which we end up doing a lot anyway. Yeah. But it's like, to be able to live the life that we want to live and actually really be there for our clients the way that we need to be is, we needed to hire some more people on our team to be able to, assist them with the showings and things like that, which is very, very time consuming.
It is. And it's more challenging, I think, to get to the end goal if you're doing a lot of prospecting like that with your physical time being consumed.
Yeah.
Right? It's one thing to do it digitally from the relative comfort of your living room or whatever, wherever your home office is. It's a whole other to get out on the road, either pack the kids up in the car and excuse their presence or hire a babysitter or whatever, right? There's a lot more going on there. So I can definitely see the buyer's agency, being one of the first things to delegate. You touched upon the consistency being king, especially for social media. Tell our audience a little bit about, obviously, we're going to tag you guys when we post this, and hopefully you guys do the same back. Tell me a little bit about your social media experience and what has really driven you there. Which came first, the enjoyment of it or the realization that it was one of the things that you just had to do well?
I would say before Kristen, because she's going to answer this question, but I think it's kind of just, so we blew up really because of Kristen's social media presence. And I think it's just more natural to who she is. Okay. And I think for you to have success with anything, you just go with what's more natural. Like,
absolutely.
She's not going to cold call anyone. No. Like, I don't think anyone really wants to do that. So it's like,
there are people out there who do. And do very well. And I don't begrudge them at all.
Every week he has a metric of how many people he wants each of us to call, and I don't know that I've ever hit it because I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, one of my first jobs getting when Jen and I got married was that I was working for Oxford International. It's down in Beverly, Massachusetts, and I was a recruiter for a staffing agency, and I was horrible with the metrics, but within the first 3 months of working there, I had 4 people working underneath me as contractors, which was completely unheard of in the department. And I hated the job with a passion because I had these phone metrics that I had to do. And if they just did away with the phone metric, I would have stayed at the job. But they had all of these like, Jeremy, you're not making enough phone calls. You're not spending enough time on the phone. And I'm like, screw that, man. I have 4 people working for me. Try to, beat that, right? Yeah. And so, I can totally sympathize with not wanting to or being able to hit that metric.
Yeah, but social media is an interesting thing because it's always evolving. Yeah. And there's so many trends, and it's easy to get down on yourself. It's easy to skip a week or to post a ton when you have new listings. There's so much involved in it, but the biggest thing is just we've kept going. We've just kept going. And I was talking to our coach about this yesterday. We have a real estate coach, which is unbelievable.
That was
we can
one of
talk
my
about
questions
that
I was
after.
going to ask. We'll talk about that.
But he was saying, he's like, who cares about the likes and comments, Kristen? Like, what's your metric? What's your conversion rate? Because this past week we had 2 leads come from TikTok and 1 from Instagram. All 3 are buyers, different parts of the country that all are relocating here, whether it's we close to their grandkids, for the military, for their job, for freedom, and they're finding us on these platforms just because we keep going.
Nationally.
Yeah, right. Florida, North Carolina, Southern Massachusetts. Those are the 3 this
still,
week.
I mean, I would say Southern Massachusetts is still nationally at that
Right,
point.
yeah.
Because that's not even remotely close to your territory.
Right. But it's just keep going. Don't get discouraged when you post something and no one likes it or comments on it, because what you have to think about, we have something like 3,500 followers, which in the grand scheme of things, it may be in New Hampshire, that's pretty good, but
yeah,
based, like, if when I look at myself versus the people that I look up to, I'm just scraping the surface.
We understand.
But say my 3,500 followers, probably 3,000 of them already live in our area.
Sure.
They might never buy or sell. But the 500 people who see it that are around the country, they're the ones that matter. So if I only get 10 likes or something or whatever the number is, it doesn't matter as long as it got to the right one person.
Yeah, I agree.
And so it's like, just keep making content that they want.
Yep. Quality over quantity.
Right.
Because really what you're looking for is an actionable video. It's something that can cause people to be inspired by you as a realtor, enough so where they're contacting you for their needs instead of just hopping on Zillow or Realtor.com and finding somebody through
Right. Yesterday, one of our buyer's agents took one of the leads, and she was the person who followed up with them, and she's booking the buyer consult and stuff. And she called afterwards. She's like, oh my God, that was the easiest conversation I've had yet in real estate. She's like, I really like the woman that called in. And I said, you know what? These are the types of leads that we want, because by the time that they DM us or comment to us or call us, they already feel like they know us so well and they trust what we're going to offer them.
Right.
So it's just an easier conversation.
Yep.
And
already
we're
gotten
happy
past
to
the
work
cold
with
call.
them because they're our ideal client.
Yeah.
We marketed everything towards them.
Yep.
So we know we want to work with them.
Sure. So there's already an integration there well before the actual point of contact.
Right.
Because you've, unknowingly to you, been contacting them for so long.
Right.
Right. So you've been cold calling in a very warm way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and for you, it doesn't feel like cold calling because, quite frankly, it's just broadcasting to the masses. But you're honing in your content, I'm expecting,
Right.
To specifically cater to the audience that you're hoping to achieve.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. So how are you looking at that demographic, and how are you tailoring your own social media profile to that demographic?
So we all have our own ideal client, and this is something that we kind of go over often.
We being you and
everyone
Kendall?
on our team.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I personally really enjoy working with families who want to move here.
Yep.
Or families who are here who maybe have a little kid and they want to get into a better school district.
Yep.
Or they just moved jobs and they got a better job and they want to upgrade their home to their second home. So they're going to sell their starter home, move to their second one.
Sure.
So I market a lot of my content towards families.
Okay.
Southern New Hampshire families. You get other stuff, right?
You're going to.
But that's my ideal client.
Okay.
A woman is going to contact me because her husband got a new job and she needs to relocate to New Hampshire, or her husband got a new job. Maybe it's her. I'm saying that this is just how I think of it.
Yeah.
Maybe she got the new job,
Yep.
but
Right.
one of them wants to upgrade their home to their second home, or maybe their in-laws are going to sell their home and they want to get a bigger home that has an in-law.
Sure.
Something like that. Yep. Kendall, you want to talk about
Yeah,
yours?
so I work.
What's your ideal?
I mean, my ideal is anybody,
No.
but to be specific,
What's Kristen's ideal for Kendall?
But Kendall, you have to say it yourself, though.
to be specific, like I'm from Nashville. I'm from Southern New Hampshire, so like it's I would say me being from Nashville, I want to work with anyone that has anything to do with Nashville, New Hampshire.
All right, your stomping grounds.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I work with a lot of people that invest, or, a lot of times first-time investors who want to buy like a multifamily. And a lot of times what happens is, like with some of our past clients who now have already bought a home, they're like, okay, I have some extra money saved up.
Right.
I want
that capital.
Yeah, I want to go buy like a multifamily. So a lot of times I'll even work with a lot of Kristins or other people's clients from our own team, just because that's what I do.
There's your funnel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then like I love new construction, love development.
Okay.
And like commercial. So I do like a lot of, I would say, the new construction, development, and investing.
That's kind of all tied back to Nashua, though. Whether the people that you were involved with were from Nashua or it's in Nashua.
So the sphere is probably reflective of that.
Yeah.
Right, is what you're saying. What allows you, in your own mind, to take on that job responsibility and be successful at it? What is the key experience that you have either come from, or the personality that you embody that kind of prepares you for that kind of demographic?
Yeah, I would say, anyone that works with investors probably should be an investor yourself.
Okay.
And that's what I am, that we are. Like, we started off as real estate investors. We were buying properties before we even got into real estate. So I've always kind of had that mindset.
Yep.
And I tell Kristin this all the time. Like, I've always had like the developmental like itch. Like, I used to draw, houses and things when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So now where we are in real estate now, I'm able to do that.
Make it a reality.
Yeah. So now when I always tell any of the investors I work with, I was just like I see it from my lens too. I'm like, if this doesn't make sense to me, you may have a different set of parameters.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to put anything in front of you that doesn't even make sense. Like, just to get a sale. I'm like, because you're doing this for a reason. You're doing this to make money. You're doing this, to increase your wealth.
Yeah.
So, but I was like, I know how to do that because we do it ourselves. And, I've experienced some things that I'm like, okay, I won't do that again, or you should definitely do this because I've gone through it myself.
Fair.
And I work with, with those people. So it's, I would say true hands-on experience is what allows me to be able to work with our clients in I feel like a unique way that, because I basically put myself in their shoes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's important. Now I'm guessing, based on your build and stature, that you also have a very assertive approach to working with builders and contractors and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say when it comes to investments, it's just a numbers game.
Yeah.
It's a little bit less emotion.
Yeah.
In these type of sales projects or anything. So it's like,
it's bullish.
Very straightforward.
Yeah.
Get to the nuts and bolts of it. Like,
absolutely.
Is this going to work or is this not going to work?
Yeah, it is truly black and white.
I would say like more like residential, like you in real estate, you're going to deal with emotions all the time, but like true residential, like you deal with a lot of it.
Yeah.
We play.
Agreed.
I'd say we probably play therapist. is very very high on other hats that we wear because it's a big sale.
It's a roller coaster.
Everyone wants to get a deal, and everyone thinks their house is worth more than what it is. So you're dealing with both sides of this, and you gotta level people's expectations, but also be able to go to bat for them, to protect them, and guide them to the best of your capabilities. So
I like that. So on the flip side of the coin, so obviously, as Kendall was saying, investing for real estate in regards to, multifamilies or flips or new construction, as far as like the, building of, that is a numbers game. But obviously when it comes to families, it's not as much of a numbers game because it is in fact an emotional consideration for long-term living. How do you help navigate that with families?
I feel like you can feel it when you walk into the house. If you walk into a house and you have a family who's really nervous about their purchase and they're going to see this house for the first time, and you can tell that whoever lived there just really didn't take good care of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes the client can't tell because they just see, oh, look, there's white cabinets and they have granite countertops and they updated the bathroom. But you can just tell by the little things in there if the trim doesn't touch in the corners or if the doors are sideways or the faucets are leaking. There's different things like you can see where people cut corners. And I'm thinking, I want this person to be my client for their whole life.
Right.
And if I let them buy this house, it's going to destroy our relationship.
Sure.
And so I worry a lot about what houses people buy. And then also when we're helping people sell, we do a ton of work ahead of time. Last week we had a plumber, a contractor, and a landscaper at a house before the day we listed it to make sure that everything was right before we sold it, because I also don't want my sellers to ever end up in a lawsuit if something happened afterwards, So I want to make sure that they're getting as much money for their house as they can and that they're selling it as it should look.
You're protecting it.
Yeah, right.
I get that.
But yeah, I mean, there's a ton of emotion involved, especially like Kendall said, when sellers think that their house is worth more than it is and buyers think that it's overpriced.
Yep.
And it's just getting people to see the long-term goal here is to either get where you're wanting to move or to get out of where you're leaving. And so let's figure out what's most important to you and let's work towards that goal.
Sure. Fantastic. So in regards to getting a house ready for sale, you take on a very hands-on approach. Obviously the purpose of the podcast is to talk about the business of real estate outside of the listing environment, not necessarily the transaction, but the mindset that brings you there to make those decisions. You guys work with staging.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that experience and why that's an option for you not an option for you, but not an option for you rather.
Yeah. So
it's like a must have, right?
Exactly. So one of the things you can see on our Instagram page, I don't know, what's it called? Like a slogan or what's another word for slogan? Yeah. Our motto that is on our Instagram page and my TikTok and everything is finding you a home that feels like home.
Okay.
And when you have a home staged, it's so much easier for the buyers who are walking in to picture themselves having it be their home.
For sure.
It shows better in pictures. It shows better in person. It just feels better. And so it's worth spending the money that we spend on it in order to prepare the home.
Yep.
We never have people come in and say, oh, I hate the staging. And they're always like, oh my God, can I buy this from the stager? They always want to buy the things that are in the house because it's so pretty. That's actually become a bit
of a line of business right there.
Right.
Yeah. I can speak from my own experience. Airbnb owners, they'll outfit their place with very specific furniture for that space, right? And the really good ones that are great with social media and long-term lead generation, they'll move out of Airbnb and work on their own social media profiles to try to reinforce their business, their rental. And the best ones will actually catalog all of the belongings inside and say where they're from and how much it was, so that people can actually shop those without even that's actually really they're not trying to be the middleman. They're trying to be the relationship maker. Yeah. Right. But it also helps with long-term lead generation. The click-throughs, the long tail links and stuff like that. So by doing that, they're able to expand their network and get better involved. From a social media standpoint, that's really imperative. Who do you do your own staging, or do you guys hire out?
We hire out. So we work with a few different companies. When we need to do a full home staging, we typically always work with Kristin Legere. But she has warehouses full of all this furniture and just a moving truck comes and she unloads it with the help of some teenagers and fills up the whole house. And we can get a whole house done in a day or two. Sure. And I think staging is such a huge asset to the seller, but unfortunately, a lot of the time, people will contact us when they want to sell their house that week. Yeah, and that's when I'm calling Danielle at 8 p.m. asking, please give me photos tomorrow. And
it's not just you. That's the MO for the industry, I think.
Yeah, so we try to ask sellers for a couple weeks of lead time in order to prepare their house to, maybe we need to maintenance the furnace. Maybe we need to do the staging. There's probably landscaping that needs to get done. Just different things that are really going to net you the most in the end. Right. But frequently people will call on a Sunday or Monday and say, hey, I need to sell my house this week. And then in that situation, we just can't stage. I'm showing up with some bins to try to make some stuff look nicer, but we're not getting a couch in there.
A quick fluff.
Yeah,
a quick fluff. That's all you can really get. Clean up the place a little bit, just do your best.
Yeah, I mean, we always try to tell them, it's like, look, can we do the photos and everything this week? Sure, yeah, we could do that.
But I'm like,
if you want to get the most, on your return, give us a week or two. And
so there's like, this is this week's price, this is next week's price.
Right.
Yeah, and it's more so like, we'll probably price it the same, but like the way that it's going to look and feel, is probably going to be different. And then obviously with the staging, and I was talking about earlier how residential is very, very emotional. It also elicits an emotion when you come into a place that feels like home versus in something that's sterile and empty. Like we absolutely, if we can control it, refuse to list a vacant house. We're going to stage it one way or another because not everyone can see through it. Not everyone could use their imagination and like see how this is going to lay out.
A small bedroom's a small bedroom until you put a queen bed in it, and then it feels perfectly fine.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like we try to because a lot of times when it comes to residential, it's an emotional decision that you then justify afterwards. So we're gonna do everything that we can, with the pictures, with the staging, with how it presents. Yeah. Because when you take all that together, you now have an emotional, like, I love this house.
For sure. For sure. And even if it doesn't yield higher value, which I can argue very much against that it actually does, it's going to yield more solid interaction with the people that are coming to the table.
Yeah, people will just be happier to be there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to get better quality bids. You're going to get better quality shoppers.
Right.
And it's going to be more invested.
Right.
Emotionally.
Yeah.
Because the pictures show first. Mm-hmm. And then, when they're coming in the home, so long as what they saw online matches what they see in person, it's pretty much a done deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It won't be the way that it looks will be the reason why they don't purchase it. It'll be because of they may not like the location. They may not like the layout. Yeah. But if there's anything else that we can control, the controllables, we will.
That's it. Yeah. Control what you can.
Yeah. We will make sure that we, to our max capacity, put in his best light.
All right. What's your favorite part of a home? Tell me a little bit about your most ideal. Like what is the room for you?
The kitchen.
The kitchen.
Yeah, kitchen and the family room, whichever the living room feels the coziest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have people over a good amount, and I feel like the kitchen is, the heart of the home. It's where some people never even make it to our living room. They just sit at the island, and that's where we entertain. I sit on the counter next to the sink, and that's where I entertain. So that's the most important. That it's clean, it's updated, it's looks as good as it can look.
You're talking about like personally?
Yeah.
I mean, I think anywhere where you can entertain, like a backyard or like a basement, like that extra space. Sure. Because those are the areas where it's like, I mean, you could take a backyard and like turn your house into an oasis. Yeah. And I think that's really, really cool. Or take like a basement, which was, that was unfinished, and turn it into you almost have a different experience when you go into
your development mindset showing through.
Yeah. So like those, obviously the kitchen and, you want to have all those nice things, but I think, you have the room that has like the movie theater and the bar and like all that stuff. Like, how could you beat that?
You see opportunity, Kendall.
I'm like, I could have 3 little rooms or whatever, nice kitchen and a big basement with everything. Like, I'm happy. Like the rest doesn't matter. Okay. Then you give me a nice backyard that I don't want to leave. I'm happy. All right. That's it.
All right.
You can see that reflected in our house.
Yeah. So we finished our basement. Earlier. Yeah.
We put a football field in the backyard. We have a nice kitchen, living room, and then everything upstairs has never been touched.
Isn't that interesting?
You just sleep. It's a room. You go to bed.
Yeah. Huh. You should see our.
I'm different. Master bedroom. That's my oasis, man. That's my you shut the door and now this is my space, our space.
I would actually really like for my master bedroom to be that, but Kendall has clothes in every corner. It's not really relaxing.
Okay. All right.
He just needs to catch up on laundry someday.
Hey, I do my own laundry, so that's what happens.
Oh, okay. All right. My crystal ball says there's a house cleaner in your future.
And we have one.
Oh, we have one. Oh, boy.
She doesn't do laundry.
I was going to say my crystal ball says there's a new house cleaner in your future. Right. But yeah, all right. So how long have you guys been in real estate? Let's talk a little bit about your
January
history.
2018. 2018.
Mm-hmm. All right. So just before, 2 years before COVID.
Yeah, we were 8 months pregnant with our second kid.
Okay.
Yeah, it was wild.
All right.
I actually, right when we got licensed, we interviewed at a couple different KWs, and we went Was it when we went to the other KW when I had my twisted ankle?
London area.
Yeah,
No,
wasn't
that Verani?
No, it was KW Metro. I was working out at the gym. I don't know why I thought you should work out until you give birth, but I would think I was like 37 weeks pregnant and was doing box jumps and twisted my ankle. And I had just gotten licensed, so we were going everywhere and meeting people, and I was on crutches with the fattest ankle.
Yeah. And pregnant.
So that was fun. And super pregnant. Yeah.
Super pregnant on crutches with the fattest ankle.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I'm here to sell real estate.
Shoulder, right? Yeah. That's great. That's great.
And then a year and a half later, we had our third child. So that for the first couple of years were crazy whirlwind.
That sounds like it.
Yeah.
You guys both got licensed at the same time?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. And where you were involved in real estate investing prior.
Yeah.
What got you to make that jump?
Life, I would say first and foremost. But so when we started real estate, I played in the NFL. I was a football player, but I always knew, like, that I always knew from very, very young that I guess my original plan was to buy a bunch of places in Florida and have my dad manage them because he's super handy.
Okay.
That part didn't work out, but I always knew that I wanted to be, to own real estate, and to develop real estate. So, and I always wanted to flip, and this is also the height of like HGTV, like
for sure,
like all those flipper flop.
It was romance.
That was like the height of it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is what I want to do. So I wanted to work on that while we were, we were in the NFL because it's a whole family thing.
It is.
While I was playing, that was something that we wanted to work on. So we, acquired a couple properties, and I would always like job shadow during the off season, like flippers, developers, things like that. I got hurt. So I would say the master plan was I'm going to have this big, Pro Bowl career, be independently wealthy, and we just do this to
have fun.
You get hurt, life changes a little bit, but it's like we already knew what we wanted to do.
Okay.
So now it's like
it was a quick gear shift.
Yeah, I mean, any transition takes some time.
For sure.
But like we always knew it was going to be real estate. I don't think there was ever a doubt it was going to be real estate. It just happened sooner than, I guess my plan. Mm-hmm. But it's all in God's plan.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And we figured we would get licensed so that we could just buy more properties for ourselves and maybe help our family. We didn't know this was going to happen.
Got it.
When we started.
Yeah.
But it's been fun.
It's been fun.
We just keep pivoting, right? Every time that you realize you learn from someone better than you about what's possible. And then we're like, wait, we could do that.
Yeah.
And then we just keep growing. So.
All right. But you're not constraining yourselves to this is what I want and this is what I need and I won't do other things. You're probably keeping your horizons fairly open.
Yeah. I mean, like with the development stuff, we didn't even have one toe in that until a year and a half ago, 2 years ago when you signed on for London Crossing.
Yeah.
We didn't even know how do you find that? How do you find a development? We didn't know any of it.
Yeah.
And like obviously like when it comes to things like that, it's anyone that could just up and do that on their own, like from the beginning, kudos to them. But we're big believers in collaboration and partnerships. Because that way you learn a lot faster, and you also have the security of having like, someone who has experience with you.
Right.
Because they've been through the ups and downs, they've been through, the mistakes, and now we could collaborate together and be in a position to where I could learn from them very, very quickly. Yep. And also, we have the shared, liability and, with the projects as well. So that's how that came about is, partnerships and collaboration has allowed us to be able to get into some of these projects.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's wonderful. Let's get back into social media real quick. You joined Real Broker, and you are now part of this network group that you are able to mastermind with once per month. You also have a coach.
Right.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about that relationship and what purpose each one serves for you.
Right. So Aaron Novello is our coach. He's awesome. He's with EXP.
Okay.
When we first hired Aaron as our coach, he was with Keller Williams in Plantation, Florida. And he switched over to EXP maybe 15, 16 months into our coaching. And we saw how quickly he grew his business there. And we knew that that type of model was going to be something that we could be really successful with. As far as having it be a cloud brokerage, there's no one kind of managing you. You're totally on your own, but you have amazing coaching that is from all around the country that's available to you online, and just different mentors available. And so anyways, Aaron's not our social media coach. He's our business coach.
Got it.
So he showed us just kind of what was possible, right? A couple of weeks ago, we had a call with him, and we were saying, oh yeah, we have the 42 units coming up at London Crossing. And he's like, yeah, is that a lot? like what? Because to us, 42 units
it's massive.
is just, it's like we think we're on top of the world,
right.
But
and he's like, yeah, 400.
He's like, yeah, cool. Like, it's like bringing us back down to think like this isn't as big as you could make it, like there's more that you could be doing. And it's just kind of, it has opened our eyes to a lot of different things. He's taught us different things, like automated things that we have. Like we just learned how to use ManyChat, ClickFunnels, and Zapier to get funnels from our social media directly into our database.
Yep.
And we didn't know how to learn that stuff. I tried to learn it a year ago on YouTube, and I accidentally shut off our website for like 6 weeks before we noticed it.
Oops.
Yeah. So it's really nice having access to a mentor that could teach us that stuff.
Yeah.
And just kind of, he keeps us on track. He also has helped us understand that we need to write down the things that we do in order to better lead our team. That's something that when you're kind of the person who's always on the go, you don't want to take the time to write down what you talk to people about, but it's so necessary so that the people on your team can learn from you.
Yeah. And then there's the flip side of the coin where you're like, well, now I'm going to flick the switch on that I want to scale this company, and getting over that initial hump of scalability is exactly the documentation and the training portion. Being able to convey that information to the people that you're trying to have follow in your footsteps is one of the hardest practices.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. So what are you guys actively trying to pursue down that path, or is this something that you just kind of like toe in the water right now?
Go ahead.
I think it just needed to be done anyways, because we were always like I would say before a couple of years ago, we were a team, like a collection of agents, but like to be like a true team, everything needed to be like centralized, ran by a certain system, certain procedures for everything. Yep. And I was like, until you identify and put it all together, it's just, we all know do real estate, but like the business aspect of it is, and to grow a team and do all that, it's like, especially when you have a team, it's like, okay, she knows how to sell, I know how to sell, but I'm just like, for us to be able to be in a position to where we could teach, right, and to have leads come in a systematized manner, and for people to go down certain funnels, that takes a lot of like mental capacity, a lot of, time, but it's all necessary, because now when these things that quote unquote happen automatically, it's like, okay, now it's easy. Like, oh, okay, yeah, we did this post, and then now this person, like, we're showing them houses. But like the funnel and everything that they went through, the automations that they went through, someone had to design them. Someone had to put them together.
Painstakingly designed.
Yeah.
And someone had to, like,
it's not a click and go.
Yeah. So, but that's the thing that we've been working on, but also it's like we're working on that while we're still actively
selling.
doing it. So it's just like, it's a lot, but I'm like, everyone goes through it,
it pays dividends.
Yeah.
And it's worth it. And we did like a big website change in Q1 of this year. And that's something that I was all in on and figuring a lot of that stuff out. And then I was very busy, but I was just like, honestly, I kind of slowed down real estate just so I could get that done.
Right.
Then immediately kind of like when that was done and I jumped back in, like we get so many leads through that system, and like I'll text her all the time, like, hey, we got another one. I'm like, hey, we got another one.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's great. And now with Kristen's TikTok and everything, it now funnels through that same thing. Yeah. So it's the effort was worth it, but to your point, it wasn't easy.
No,
A lot of late nights.
There's a lot of front end investment that people don't recognize getting a business built, right?
Absolutely.
Like I was just indicating just a moment ago, there's a gateway there where you either choose to stay small and you change your pricing to accommodate that staying small without having to worry about shrinking, or you flick the switch on and you're like, no, I'm all in, I'm go. And a lot of people are too timid, I think, to flick that switch on. Or they don't believe maybe they have it in them, or maybe they've tried it and it's just not for them, right? Like there's a bunch of reasons that someone might not do that, because not everybody is meant to be a business owner.
Yeah.
Some people are just fantastic doers, but not great leaders. And other people are great leaders, but they don't do well, right? And so there's that blend in between. From a coaching standpoint, how frequently do you work with your coach?
Every other week.
Every other week.
Yeah.
And do you guys then sub-coach your team?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, one thing that we've learned a lot in the last couple months is when we hired our first buyer agent, we did not necessarily equip her with what she needed to be as successful as she should be.
Okay.
Which was kind of a hard slap in the face. And she's great at what she does, but it's our fault that she wasn't more successful the first year.
Love that you're taking ownership of that.
And now we know that because we just hired our second buyer's agent who's newly licensed. And the amount of stuff you have to teach a newly licensed agent it's wild. You don't learn any of it in school, in real estate school.
Yep.
But so now we're essentially teaching to both of them, even though it's just recap for the more seasoned agent. It's like having these every 6 months, maybe we just re-coach the same all from the beginning and start over again and make sure we're all on the same page, because we really want to make sure that whether seller A meets Kristen, Kendall, Monica, or Janelle, they're getting the same service. And I think that was where we assumed that people would know certain things.
Yeah.
And they don't.
No.
Unless we teach it to them,
Yep.
they just don't know the way that we work, because we're constantly going, and unless they just would have observed it.
Yep.
They don't know, so.
How often do you guys integrate with your team? Is this daily,
Every
weekly?
week.
Every week.
Yeah. We have a group chat every day,
Yep.
but every Wednesday we do our team meeting, and then once a week we do a training with them based on what they need.
Okay. Now, from a frequency standpoint, you said once per month with a mastermind group?
Yes.
All right.
With Shannon.
And is this a women's only mastermind group for the business,
No.
or is it for
Everyone
all
in her
agents?
line, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of content is discussed at these mastermind groups?
So I was saying this week we talked about client events. So one thing we did this summer was after we had a seller close on a property in our neighborhood, a buyer closed on a property in our neighborhood. We
Your own
got an
personal
ice
one.
cream truck.
Your own personal neighborhood, or the one that
Our
you're selling?
neighborhood,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. All right.
One of our friends moved into our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Her kids didn't know anyone. They were so nervous. And we got an ice cream truck. We hired an ice cream truck and paid for it to come to the cul-de-sac. And we invited all of the neighbors. So all of the moms and dads in the neighborhood brought their kids, and we all played in the cul-de-sac. We had like bubbles and chalk and an ice cream truck. And everybody got to know each other. And like a lot of us moved in during COVID and don't even really know each other. But it was such a nice community event, micro event, right? Like 50 people. But the kids were so excited. And then the mom texted me a few days later. She's like, oh my God, Kristen, one of the kids that was at the ice cream truck just came over and rang the doorbell and asked if my son could play. And it's like that meant more to her than anything we could have ever possibly done.
Kristen, you just put my brain in overdrive. Because that is a very unfulfilled or unmet need for neighborhoods throughout the United States. As kids get more and more in tune with their devices indoors, they stop networking with their fellow classmates or even people that go to different schools or whatever, and that integration starts losing its value. And neighborhoods start losing their value inherently as well. Yeah. What's the point of a cul-de-sac if nobody's outside?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I mean, great, you got a great backyard full of just your family, but you're not entertaining, right?
Yeah.
You guys are very outgoing individuals, I'm guessing, based on your entertainment-based feedback. And that's a genius idea.
Yeah, it was just something that meant a lot to them, and it was fun for us. We got to meet neighbors that we didn't even know, or neighbors that we met 4 years ago and haven't seen since because we all hibernated for 3 years.
Kristen,
you know,
the value of that is so much more than it looks on the surface, because what you just created there was an experience that the kids are going to go back to, that the parents are going to go back to and be like, remember that time when?
Yeah.
So our old neighborhood, when we were living in Lunenburg, we did just like twice a year, we did like a Christmas thing and we did a summer thing. And we did the summer thing. My wife and I, we were the ones who hosted it because like it wasn't being done. People just went door to door for Christmas, giving like a bread or whatever, that kind of thing, right? But then we didn't see anybody for the rest of the year. And there was like 3 families on the street that had kids our age that we never saw them at all because they were busy with their own lives doing their own thing. One of the families, they were just inside all the time on electronics, and the other family, they were outside all the time on dirt bikes. And my kids didn't identify with either, and so they were biking on the street by themselves. And so we started doing ice cream parties during the summer to bring the families to our yard and stuff. And it panned out for the most part, where they started developing relationships and stuff. But to have something neighborhood wide like that, especially for a larger development, that there's immense value there. I'm wondering, just putting it out there, if you impromptu started doing that in other neighborhoods, with your name on the ice cream truck, how that would pan out.
Our coach literally told us that the other day.
Yeah. I know. We would love, I was saying like the bottleneck in that is we don't know some of the neighborhoods where our buyers buy.
Yeah.
We don't know people in the neighborhood. And so that would involve, we've done it before. We did it on Stonehenge. Same type of thing. We hired a hot chocolate truck after closing.
Apple
we got
cider
a
or whatever.
blow up TV screen and played an NFL game in someone's driveway. They just moved in and we had an outdoor hot chocolate truck.
Sure.
Same thing. They had actually been waiting over a year to move into this house. And so the kids were just so excited to move in. And so we invited all the neighbors. Same thing. They get to learn who else lives in the neighborhood. They got to make good friends down the street. And so we've done it before. But yeah, I mean, it's something we really should implement on a lot of different buyers. It's just it's a time constraint.
I respect that.
I always ask. I had one client because we just did that one. And I asked them and they're like, no, we're good.
Yeah, sometimes they don't want it.
Yeah, of course.
If they're not outgoing.
Maybe they're introverts and they're like, no, I like my privacy, right?
Yeah, so it's client by client, but we kind of can gauge who we're working with.
Well, right, but that's only, like, if you're looking at it through the lens of a successful transaction having been completed and you were part of the buyer's agent or whatever. But I'm thinking more along the lines of, like, let's pull back a little bit more and look at it from a community service standpoint. What about being in charge of hosting block parties throughout Southern New Hampshire, where, once per month you put once a week during the summer or whatever frequency you guys settle on, where you host the block party for that given area of town or wherever. And, maybe it costs $1,500 to $2,000 to put it on, but like think of the lead generation that you get off of that and the integration that you have with the families in there.
So this is something we've been working on for a few years. We live in Windham, and Windham is an old school town, and all of the town programs are run by the ladies who have been in real estate for like 40 years, right?
No, I get that.
Last year, the amount of emails I sent to the rec department begging to be part of Harvest Fest, like I'm just shoving my way into different events.
Did you get in?
Yes.
Okay.
But so that we can be part of this community stuff, because if it's already an event thrown by someone else and I just get to be part of it, then it's an easier thing for us to do, right?
Of course. There's less notice.
Or it's an event that every family in town already goes to every year. They plan to go. It's on their calendar months in advance.
Sure.
That's great if I can get involved.
Yep.
But so it's something that we've been
it was actually even put on the calendar
into
a couple times to go do like block parties in our neighborhood, but it's just like, as goes life, being busy. We do have 3 kids that are all in multiple sports too, so it's just I think our want to list, it's like it's already on there.
Really
I get it.
It's already on there, but like it's like, damn, okay. Because like it's not an easy undertaking, but for sure, as we can continue to change our business and delegate more, maybe we'll have more time to like, okay, let's let's be able to put that together. But yeah,
well, if
100%.
if there's any companies out there that are listening that know of an event planning company that can take this from concept to completion for Kristen and Reyes, feel free to reach out to them.
Yeah, thank you.
Because honestly, there's a job right there for somebody.
Exactly. But so Shannon Gillette, she has an event team, and she does tons of different. She does quarterly client events, which is what we now do. Obviously, she has hundreds more clients than we have, but. So our call this week was about client events and enhancing the experience and just like giving each other great ideas on what we could do.
Sure.
The last one was a social media audit. So it was going through each of our pages. We all went through and gave our feedback about everyone else's page. Yeah. So it's just depends on what people need every month.
Realtors helping realtors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially when it's people that aren't in your marketplace, so you don't feel like you're being judged or you don't really... I almost like respect their opinion more if they're from further away.
For sure. Photographer circles don't have that, unfortunately, because we have no unified broker or leadership, right? We're all independent leaders where we're making up our own business model as we go kind of thing. And, photography is so new, quote unquote, to the field of real estate that there's no real path that's been carved, and just there's no Grand Canyon that you're following. It's all different offshoots of different schools of thought. We just kind of like make our own mistakes and learn from those mistakes, hopefully, and just try to like program ourselves. So it's really awesome that you guys have a community like this that you can trust and bounce ideas off of and get the feedback that's required to really get you to that better edge.
Yeah, I never really thought about that. Do you have a business coach?
I used to.
Okay.
So I had a business coach for, I'd say, close to 7 years. I think I worked with him. I probably need a new business coach. I've been without one for about a year and a half ish, only because we've gotten to the point where the next step for us would be to grow into different regions that we're not currently involved in. And that's a big jump from where we're at now, because now you're hiring for spec work versus just hiring a W-2 employee, because all of our employees are W-2 basis. We pay full benefits, vacation pay, like the whole enchilada. And that's how we retain our talent. We have a very low turnover of technicians that work for us, for on the road photographers and media producers, because of how we treat them. If I start working with a 1099 basis, subcontractor, like more location based, because if you go, like, let's say, for example, I wanted to like expand into New York, right? Because that would be like the obvious low hanging fruit. We would have to 1099 it, because there's not enough business right now where I could justify having someone on the payroll, right? And so at that point, how much control do you have over their schedule? Then there's the state laws, and then there's workers' comp that you're adding for a different state. There's a lot of layers there that kind of, hits you against that ceiling. So that's where we're at right now. But a good business coach for me would be someone that can help get over that hump, because there's a lot of investment that has to go into it, and there's a lot of courage that is required for that. So
you guys are every state in New England?
We just don't service Vermont right now because, we're not close enough to it. We do southern Maine, right up to Winnipesaukee and slightly north of that. All of Massachusetts out to the Berkshires and Springfield. So extreme western Mass, not so much. And we even do northern Rhode Island, northern Connecticut.
Nice.
So we have a good territory of coverage. And as we get into the winter months, we normally expand that territory a little bit more, because the volume of business, of course, for real estate is slower during the winter. And so we have more time on our hands to service other communities that we normally wouldn't. At no travel fee, just to kind of get that that word out there. And based on our response that we see during the winter, we'll hire people that are closer to those regions so that there's more guaranteed growth as we get into the spring market. So that's basically how we level up each year.
How big is the company? Like, how many people?
I have 10 photographers that work for me full time. And so we have a staff of 16 plus myself. So 17 people altogether, and they're all full-time employees. We are hoping to take on a couple part-timers next year so that we're not having to carry them year-round, because obviously the seasonality of real estate is just a feast or famine industry. But we found a very different trend happening this year, where people such as yourselves are investing very differently in their marketing campaigns. And they're doing a lot of stuff outside of real estate, which is one of the reasons why Next Level Studios exists, where we're starting to take on more commercial-based work to help actually, people actually grow their businesses versus just simply sell homes.
Right.
And so that's kind of the path that we're heading down. And it's too early to tell whether or not that is also seasonal. And if it's hopefully a reverse season, I don't think it is. I think it's, it's going to conflict with the same level of business that we're trying to achieve for Madore Photography. Because obviously, like, spring market hits, like, it's bonkers.
Yeah.
And fall market hits. I mean, heck, we're looking at a second spring at this point. Like, things are just crazy right now. So it's just a very difficult industry to plan for. From a labor standpoint. But we're holding on. We're holding on.
That's awesome.
So, but yeah, no, things have been well. Guys, it's been really great having you inside the studio. Is there anything that you wanted to introduce as a parting topic?
I mean, we're absolute fans and obviously clients of yours, or however it works. But like, I mean, in our marketing campaign and all that, like we brag about.
You're in our listing presentation.
Yeah, you're in our listing presentation. So like, personally, just want to say thank you, and we've wanted a lot of business because of the quality of our photos.
Thank you.
And a lot of people have asked, like, who do you use and all this other stuff. So it's just a kudos to your company and the standard that you guys set, which has helped our business.
Yep.
So just want to say thank you, honestly.
Yeah.
You are very welcome.
Yeah, I've had a listing photographed when you guys weren't available.
Yeah.
And then I ended up contacting you again to redo it because the photos, I could tell they were going to be so much better to have your company do though.
You made my day. You made my day. Yeah. I live in my own head a lot, which is what I need a business coach. I live in my own head a lot about, like, problems come across the table, right? And a lot of times what I hear the most are the problems, because I'm the guy who normally solves like the high, like the low level problems, right? The high level problems are just squashed by the team because they just know their jobs, right? But the low level problems are really like the ones that you have to tease out, right? But they're the more intrinsic. I got to train through this problem. Like, they're more difficult, right? As a result of it. And so I don't often get to hear that kind of stuff. So I very much appreciate that.
I'm sure too, it's the same thing with us when you see other people on social media bragging about this or that, or showing like, oh, I worked with this person.
All the time.
It's like easy to get in your own head. But like you said, we have to think about this too as being team leaders now, that we can't just always be in the weeds and training and doing this stuff. We also have to just say, you guys are doing great.
Right.
We're really proud of you.
You got to see the sunsets.
Yeah.
You have to do it. You just got to take the time.
Yeah.
And so whenever I come into the office, I always try to take a moment to reinforce the team. And the hard part for me is keeping the reinforcement genuine. It's not that I have a hard time being genuine. I'm genuine. The hard time that I have is making it come across genuine and trying to keep my own perspective of how to speak with them and what to reward with, and not just through like gifts, but also like words, because words mean a ton. I want to make sure that at all times, whenever I thank somebody for being a client, being one of our employees, being a staff member, being part of our sphere, that it's a genuine thank you and not just another one that they heard today kind of thing, right? And it's very difficult to always stay on top of that, especially when you're bogged down in the weeds with the other stuff.
All spring, you probably don't say thank you to anyone.
What's that?
I said all spring, we probably don't say thank you to anyone.
Yeah, it's like frustration, and then all of a sudden summer comes, they're like, oh, you're here still? So it's an interesting industry, and I just want to thank you guys for riding the roller coaster with us.
Yeah.
It's not a theme park ride that anybody wants to pay to be on.
Yeah.
So, but thank you guys.
Thanks for having us.
No,
This is
appreciate
great.
it.
Very welcome.